Welcome everyone, this is DerekJ Speaks, and today we are talking about WWE Survivor Series 2021 live from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. A show that had zero importance going into it. The build up and lead up into this pay-per-view has been some of the worst in a very long time as far as WWE standards are concerned, with matches being announced randomly on Twitter, people being inserted and taken out of matches mere days before the show, and just very little importance or significance given to any of these matches. This is once again another year of WWE doing Survivor Series with the whole Raw versus SmackDown battle for brand supremacy tagline, and once again, nothing at stake. You just got guys from Raw, women from Raw versus people from SmackDown fighting these big matches. You know, they're putting in the effort, the work is there, but what is on the line? What are they fighting for? Every year passes and nothing. Although that was not the only story of this show. No. The other story of this show was we were celebrating the 25th anniversary of The Rock. The Rock made his debut at Survivor Series 25 years ago at Survivor Series 1996, and they celebrated that tonight by showing a bunch of random clips of past matches and moments throughout The Rock's career, as well as having Vince McMahon parade around with this golden egg, which was just a prop from The Rock's latest movie on Netflix called Red Notice. I don't understand why we had to see a 76-year-old man on TV shouting and getting angry about his egg and someone taking his egg, and now that's going to carry over into Monday Night Raw tomorrow night. So that was the big story of the night. Another big story of the night was the fact that once again, Raw makes SmackDown its bitch. Almost every single match, at least on the main card, Raw won every single match except for the main event, which I'm sure that's going to be some big story told going forward. But still, we once again make Raw look superior and make SmackDown look inferior. Even though SmackDown gets the higher ratings, SmackDown more often than not is a better show than Monday Night Raw, the only reason I cannot confidently say that is because I don't watch Monday Night Raw. I off and on watch SmackDown, but I have not watched a full episode of Raw consistently in a very long time. And it's quite good. You should try it if you don't do it. It's quite good. Just seeing it piecemeal in different clips on Twitter and YouTube and stuff, far more easier. But yeah. But you know what? It doesn't even matter. Raw beats SmackDown in a bunch of matches. Who cares? What does it matter? There's nothing on the line. It's not like, well, this means SmackDown loses a draft pick or they don't get certain picks in the Royal Rumble match or something like that. There's nothing on the line. So these wins, these losses, they mean absolutely nothing. Now, with that, we did get some good matches on this show. I thought the opener with Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch, I thought that was a great match. I thought the main event was really great with Roman Reigns and Big E. Started off kind of slow, but then it built up into a very good match. The men's Survivor Series elimination match was really good. And you had a few other good things in there. Of course, you also had a few bad things. Like I said, the Vince skits. You had a women's elimination match that was pretty rough. But overall, the word that comes to mind to describe this show is okay. It was an okay show, even with those really great matches. None of them are matches that I would tell you, man, you gotta stop what you're doing and go out of your way to see this match. No, they were really good matches. Probably great matches that you would see on Raw or SmackDown. But nothing that was overly spectacular and nothing that was great enough to save this show from being just okay. It wasn't bad. It could have been much worse. With the way this show was built up, it should have been worse. This show was way better than it had any right to be. but it was still just okay. So, thank you for joining me for your Survivor Series recap. If you like what you see, if you like what you hear, go ahead, hit that like button on this video, show this channel some love, give me a subscribe, hit that subscribe button, follow the channel on YouTube at DerekJ Speaks, and follow me on Twitter at DerekJ Speaks, where I am on there every single week talking all things pro wrestling, whether that be WWE, whether that be AEW, whether that be anything related to the world of professional wrestling, including this past week where yet another mass exodus of cuts from WWE, which is another big problem. You got a lot of guys on this show who they're just one phone call away from good old John Laurinaitis and one excuse of budget cuts away from being off the show. So whoever won tonight, now not everyone of course, but people you saw on this show, there's a good chance, there's at least a small chance, a month later, you're not even going to see them. They're not even going to be employed by WWE. So that takes a lot of energy and excitement out of watching this product, knowing that at any given moment, anyone can just be cut. No matter if they're being used or not. Even if they are being used, even if there seems to be some focus put on them, they could still just as easily be cut and gone from the company. So, it is what it is. And I don't want to make this whole thing too negative, raining down on WWE, but it's very hard. It's very hard to support this company right now. It's very hard to look at them with too much positivity. And shows like this do not make it any better. I was hoping that despite the lackluster build and despite once again them being in a negative light with all the releases a few weeks ago, or this past week I should say, it was just a few days ago. Despite all of that, they could go out there and put on a great show. The effort was there. All the talent, they go out there, they bust their ass, and they do the best they can. The booking was not egregious, so there's that, but there was nothing about this show that justifies the weeks of boring, meaningless television and the fact that there was absolutely no point to this show even existing. So, with that, let's go ahead and review it. So, we'll go ahead and start off with the pre-show, that being the Intercontinental Champion versus the United States Champion. Of course, that being the Intercontinental Champion from Friday Night SmackDown, Shinsuke Nakamura, along with Rick Boogs in his corner, taking on the United States Champion from Monday Night Raw, Damian Priest. This was a match that was added at the last minute and had less build-up than any of the other matches on this show. It was just the Intercontinental Champion versus the United States Champion, and that was it. So, throughout the match, Rick Boogs was on the outside playing his guitar, distracting and getting on the nerves of Damian Priest, and Priest warned him that if you do it again, I'm going to hurt you, I'm going to break that guitar. Well, Rick Boogs did it again. He played the guitar. Priest was in the ring going for the reckoning, and Rick Boogs got back up, played the guitar. Damian Priest went out to the ring, or outside of the ring, I should say. He broke the guitar over his knee, and then using one of the pieces of the guitar that was still in his hand, he bashed it in Rick Boogs' gut. And then Nakamura exited the ring. He tried to go after Priest, and then Priest hit Nakamura with the piece of the guitar, and that caused the DQ. So the Intercontinental Champion wins via disqualification. The Intercontinental Championship cannot buy its way onto the main card of a pay-per-view. This is the first time the IC Champion has had any representation on a pay-per-view since WrestleMania earlier this year in April. And the match he is involved in ends in a disqualification. But hey, Nakamura was one of only 2 victories for Friday Night SmackDown all night. So, there you go. Also on the pre-show, that is where we saw the arrival of Vince McMahon. He came in his limousine, he exited the vehicle, got out, and there was a bunch of people, officials, jobbers, whatever you want to call them, all applauding him, giving him this big standing ovation. Vince shows off the big Cleopatra egg, again from The Rock's movie Red Notice on Netflix. I might as well promote it since that's what Survivor Series was doing all night, so I might as well promote it as well. It's just after this past week, seeing that, it's like you are all cheering for this man who could probably cut all of you next week. But whatever. On to the main show. We opened up with Charlotte Flair versus Becky Lynch. Of course, Becky Lynch being the Raw Women's Champion and Charlotte Flair being the SmackDown Women's Champion. There was not a whole lot of build-up to this match either, but the build-up that there was stemmed from all the backstage controversy between the two of them, going all the way back weeks and weeks ago during that championship exchange segment where one of them dropped the belts and they were both being very bratty and bitchy to one another. Of course, the reports were coming out that backstage they got into a heated argument, some kind of verbal confrontation between the two of them. Things got heated, things got very testy, and then since then we've heard rumors, and actually not rumors, actual quotes from both women that they're not close to each other anymore. They're not close of friends. They're not really friends at all. And Becky Lynch has said that she can't trust Charlotte. So that was kind of the story going into this match, that these two former friends are now firmly against one another. And the question is something going to happen? Are they going to shoot on each other? Is some kind of real legit fight going to happen? Of course, none of that happened. They just wrestled a match. And it was a very good match. It was a damn good match because Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch are damn good wrestlers. So, throw all that rumor and stuff out the window. This was just a regular match, but it was a great one. Strong way to open up the show. Both women attempted each other's submissions on one another. Becky tried to lock Charlotte in the figure four. She tried to bridge it up into the figure eight, but she was only able to get it to the figure four, and then Charlotte reversed it. Charlotte also tried to lock in the submission hold on Becky, tried to lock her in the disarm her. So both women tit for tat, going back and forth. The crowd was really into it. They support Charlotte. They do the woos and all that stuff, but they really love Becky. I have no idea why this woman is a heel. I have no idea why we are supposed to boo her. The fans absolutely love her. They were going crazy for Becky all night, and it added to the excitement level of this match. But the finish came where Charlotte was attempting to roll up Becky. They were both near the ropes. Charlotte rolled up Becky, and while she was rolling her up, she was grabbing the ropes. The referee looks up, catches her right in the act, and calls her out for it. Becky rolls through and rolls up Charlotte, but does so in a way where the referee's view is obstructed, so he cannot see Becky. So Becky waits until the last second, and then she grabs the ropes. She gets the 1, 2, 3, and Becky Lynch wins the match. First victory on the board for Monday Night Raw, and Becky Lynch, I guess she proves that she is the better woman between herself and Charlotte. I guess that was the point of this match. I don't know. I've seen Charlotte beat Becky before. I've also seen Becky beat Charlotte before. And there's not a doubt in my mind that this is not the last match that we will ever see between these two women. It might be the last one for a while, if all the stuff is true about the two of them not really liking each other anymore. I can't imagine after this they are excited about the idea of potentially working together again. But for what it was a really great match. One of the best matches of the show. Probably might have been the best match of the show. Although my vote for that might go to the next match. Still a great match. Great, strong open. And that's it. Up next, we got the men's Survivor Series elimination match. Team Raw, represented by the almighty Bobby Lashley, Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, Finn Balor, and Austin Theory, taking on the Team SmackDown, represented by Sheamus, Drew McIntyre, King Xavier Woods, Happy Corbin, along with Madcap Moss at his side, and Jeff Hardy. This was all action from start to finish, and I thought it was a pretty enjoyable match. We had a start that was very reminiscent of what happened in last year's Survivor Series match. If you remember that, last year Seth Rollins was on Team SmackDown, as well as Kevin Owens was also on Team SmackDown. Rollins tagged himself in, got in the ring, got down on his knees, and welcomed Sheamus to hit him with a bro kick and pin him and beat him. So Rollins gave himself up to be eliminated early on. We saw something very similar with this match. It started out with Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins bickering back and forth as to who would start the match. Kevin Owens was insistent that he be the one to start it off. He won out the battle. He was about to go toe-to-toe with Xavier Woods. He was getting pumped up. He was amping up with the team and all that. The bell rang, and he immediately walked out of the ring. Started walking up the ramp, and the referee is counting. By this point, Owens is all the way up the ramp. He's looking back at the ring, and he gets himself counted out. So, first off, first man eliminated is Kevin Owens. Team Raw is already down one member of their team and at a 5-4 disadvantage. So, I'm sure this is leading to something. We know Kevin Owens is in the middle of a heel turn, so I'm sure this is just playing into that. And that's that. After that, SmackDown was in control over Monday Night Raw for a while. Eventually, Monday Night Raw got back into it, starting with Finn Balor hitting the coup de grace on Happy Corbin to eliminate him. So, bye-bye Baron Corbin. Xavier Woods, he found himself on the top rope. He was going for an elbow down onto, I believe, Austin Theory when Rollins on the apron started distracting the referee, and then from behind, Bobby Lashley comes in, crotches Woods on the top turnbuckle, comes crashing down. Lashley tags himself in, hits a spear on Woods, and gets the elimination, so Xavier Woods is now gone. We see Balor do a dive through the ropes. He tries to connect with Sheamus, but Sheamus catches him in mid-flight, but only temporarily, as Rollins also does a dive and takes him down. So down goes all those guys. And then we got a big standoff between Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley. They were kind of building that up, these two guys going at it, which made sense. There's the history between the two of them. Of course, they were in the opening match of WrestleMania early this year for the WWE Championship. Went on to wrestle quite a few times for that championship throughout the rest of the year. So this is the first time we've seen the two of them collide in a while. They were brawling it out. The fans were really into it. Eventually, both men find themselves fighting on the outside, and they fight out there long enough to both get counted out. So that is 3 countouts in this single match alone. So both men are eliminated, and they will not go quietly. Lashley goes to attack Drew. Lashley is getting pulled away by some of the other guys, and then he ends up getting hit with a Claymore kick, courtesy of Drew McIntyre. Lashley is going to try to get his hands on Drew again. Drew is in the ring looking down on Lashley, who was outside the ring, and we see other officials from the backstage. We see MVP come out. They're trying to calm down Lashley, trying to get him to the back. Eventually, they get him back there. Meanwhile, Drew, he was eliminated as well. He is standing in the ring. Seth Rollins comes from behind, taps him on the shoulder, and is kind of mocking him, telling him, bye-bye, giving him the waving gesture. And then McIntyre hits him with the Glasgow kiss. Down goes Rollins, and finally Drew leaves. Sheamus tried to come in and pin him, but it was only good for a 2 count. By this point, Balor, he attempted some big move off the top, but he ate a bro kick from Sheamus. Balor's gone. Now we're down to Sheamus and Jeff Hardy on Team SmackDown, and Seth Rollins and Austin Theory from Team Raw. We saw Sheamus and Jeff Hardy working together very temporarily. We saw both of them doing the 10 beats, beating on the chests of Austin Theory and Seth Rollins. I believe Sheamus was pounding on Rollins' chest and Jeff was pounding on Theory's chest. So nice little teamwork from the two of them. But Eventually, Theory ended up getting the shock pin on Sheamus. Sheamus got eliminated. Afterwards, Sheamus got back up. He was smiling. He was kind of giving Austin Theory his props, but it was just disingenuous. He ended up clobbering Theory and knocked him down. He looked over at Jeff, his teammate, was seeming to be apologetic, but then he ended up taking him down as well. So we see Rollins take advantage of this. He went up top, hit a frog splash, but only good for a 2 count. We see Jeff Hardy and Austin Theory mix it up a little bit, ending with Jeff Hardy going up top, hitting the Swanton Bomb, and eliminating Austin Theory. So it came down to Seth Rollins and Jeff Hardy. The fans were pretty hot for this. They were really, really into Jeff Hardy. The people love Jeff. Despite the up and down booking of Jeff over the last year or so, the fans love Jeff Hardy. I love Jeff Hardy, and I would love to see Jeff Hardy get a shot in a main event spot against Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship at some point over the next few months. Not necessarily WrestleMania, but maybe Royal Rumble time. They announced their day 1 pay-per-view on January 1st, so maybe that could be a big match to do there. But I would love to see Jeff get one more shot at a world championship in the near future. But good stuff here. Like I said, the fans were really into Jeff Hardy, but it was no good. Rollins was going for the stomp. Jeff blocked it, got up, hit the twist of fate. Down goes Rollins. Jeff goes up top, goes for the Swanton Bomb. Rollins gets his knees up, rolls up, hits the stomp on Hardy, and gets the win. Seth Rollins is the sole survivor, and Team Raw gets the victory. Like I said, I would probably say this was one of my favorite matches of the night, if not my favorite match of the night. And I really enjoyed it. Very much action-oriented all throughout, and good stuff here. Backstage, we see Vince McMahon in his office with Roman Reigns talking about that damn egg, talking about how it costs $100 million, and Roman Reigns made the comment that, hey, that sounds like the price of my next contract. And he walked off. Vince gave this kind of look back look or whatever, and that was that. So more shenanigans with Vince and his egg. Up next, we got a 25-man battle royal. This was a 25-man battle royal because it was celebrating the 25th anniversary of The Rock. Of course, we couldn't get The Rock on this show, but we can have a match with 25 guys who could be cut at any week now in this match. For some reason, AJ Styles was in this match. I have no idea why AJ Styles is in some random meaningless battle royal, but then again, every match on this show was effectively meaningless, so I guess it fit. We also got a Pizza Hut tie-in with this match because the Street Profits made their way out and they were shilling some Pizza Hut products. They had a big giant box of pizza. I guess it's like this 3-layer meal thing, whatever. They were bringing it over to the announce table. Byron Saxton was over there. He was ready and amped up to get some pizza, and they were pretending like they were going to give it to him, but they ended up giving it over to Michael Cole and Corey Graves. I only mention that because that was one of the best parts of this entire match. So, very sad, but also very true. So, we got more pizza stuff in the match. Otis and R-Truth were members of this match. R-Truth gave Otis some pizza, and Otis was munching down on the pizza. Truth slapped Otis on the ass, and then Truth ended up getting eliminated by Otis. So, there you go. The big star of this match, of course, was Omos, AJ Styles' former tag team championship partner, still his partner and bodyguard. So Omos was cleaning house. I think he ended up eliminating 12 people. Some of the guys he eliminated were the likes of Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler. I think Commander Aziz was somebody he eliminated. Among other people, I don't remember every single person who was in this match. It doesn't matter. So, Commander Aziz, who of course is the bodyguard of Apollo Crews, he got eliminated, but he did not leave ringside yet. He was trying to pull AJ Styles over the top rope while he was already on the outside. He was trying to pull AJ out. Meanwhile, in the ring, Omos is pulling AJ back in. So, Omos and Aziz were basically playing tug of war with AJ Styles. And then from behind, in the ring, Apollo Crews bumps into Omos. Omos lets go of AJ, so he technically eliminated AJ Styles as well. So out goes AJ. Eventually, Omos eliminated Apollo Crews as well. It came down to Ricochet and Omos, and despite the crowd being really into Ricochet, I think the writing was on the wall here. Flung Ricochet over the top rope. Omos gets the big victory. Like I said, I believe they said he stacked up 12 eliminations in this match, so good for him. And then AJ Styles was back in. He went back to the outside to bring some pizza in for Omos, because apparently this had to be done right here. And then we see Montez Ford kick AJ in the head. Down goes AJ, and Montez steals the pizza. He starts throwing the pizza out to the fans. They were chanting, "We want pizza," earlier in the match. So Montez Ford is a man of the people, and he was flinging pizzas out to the fans. Eventually, he and Angelo Dawkins ran to the back. So a very thrilling, engaging match there, I know. Up next, we got the battle of the tag team champions, the SmackDown tag team champions, the Usos, and of course the Raw tag team champions, RK Bro, Matt Riddle, and Randy Orton. Big night for Randy Orton, who was celebrating beating Kane's record of competing in the most pay-per-view matches in WWE history. This is a big deal, so big that even Randy Orton tweeted about it earlier in the week. He was, thanking the fans and all that, and a lot of people were like, "Whoa, did Randy Orton get his Twitter hacked?" This is not usually something we would expect tweeted out from Randy Orton, but that's a big accomplishment. This is a guy who's been around for a very long time, and very cool for him. The match itself was pretty good. It wasn't anything spectacular, but it was good. The crowd was really, really into everything that Randy Orton was doing, even more so than Riddle. Like, Orton and Riddle together are still one of the most over acts on Monday Night Raw, from what I can tell from the small clips of the show that I watch. They are two of the most over acts on the show. But even more so than Riddle doing anything by himself in this match, Randy doing anything by himself in this match was really over with the crowd. And that led all the way into the finish of the match. Riddle got blind tagged. So Randy Orton blind tagged his way in, hit Riddle in the back, tagged himself in. Jimmy Uso did not know that Randy Orton was the legal man. So Jimmy had his sights set on Riddle, brought him down, was going up top, about to hit the Uso splash. He came down, but got met in midair with a picture-perfect RKO, and Randy Orton picks up the victory for himself, for Team RK Bro, and of course for Monday Night Raw. Once again, does not mean anything. They did not win anything other than the match. But hey, Randy Orton, he is now the record holder for most matches on pay-per-view, and he won. I don't know what the exact number is. I guess you can look that up yourself. But congratulations to Randy Orton on the big accomplishment. Backstage, yet another segment with Vince McMahon and this stupid-ass egg. This time he was back there with Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville, where he noticed that someone stole his gold egg, his Cleopatra egg, his fake plastic prop from The Rock's movie set, only not really, but okay. And so he told Adam Pearce to investigate and interrogate members of the roster, and if by the end of the night he couldn't find anything and no one copped to stealing the egg, then everyone from Raw and SmackDown will appear on Monday Night Raw tomorrow night as of this recording, and he will get to the bottom of it there. And so, as you saw, by the end of the night, no one confessed to stealing the egg. No one even mentioned the egg for the rest of the night. So now, for some reason, everyone's going to be on Raw tomorrow night. I'm sure that'll get all of you excited to watch the show. Every member of the roster, all in the building at the same time, to be investigated by a 76-year-old man complaining about his lost egg. So, peak entertainment, everyone. Up next, the Women's Survivor Series elimination match. Team Raw, represented by Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan, Queen Zelina Vega, Carmella, and one half of the Women's Tag Team Champions, Rhea Ripley, taking on Team SmackDown, represented by the team captain Sasha Banks, alongside Toni Storm, Shotzi Blackheart, Shayna Baszler, and Natalya. This match was not good. There was good stuff in it, but overall, this was pretty rough. And I'm not trying to be against the women. I'm all for the women wrestling and everything, but this just wasn't their night. And the crowd really wasn't all that into it either. So, the first elimination went to Monday Night Raw. Carmella was trying to put on her mask, I guess, and there was something that happened between her and Rhea Ripley. I guess Rhea took the mask from her, or she knocked the mask out of her hand. Whatever happened, Carmella ended up getting rolled up and eliminated. So, bye-bye Carmella. Then this next portion of the match was just a bunch of wrestling. Shayna Baszler and Natalya were wrestling Rhea, and you had a bunch of people mixing it up. I didn't have a problem with it, but the crowd just wasn't into it. They started doing a wave. You could hear the crowd like chanting and cheering and popping, but it's like they're not paying attention to this match, and that was very evident because it got on TV on the hard camera, on the side of the hard camera. You could see the crowd in the background doing a wave. They could care less about this match. But I'll tell you what did get the crowd interested in this match once Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair stepped in the ring. I thought that was pretty cool. Once the two of them got in the ring and they started mixing up for a little bit, the crowd came alive. They were really into it. They started a Let's Go Sasha, EST, back and forth chant. And then once the two of them diverged, and I think Zelina came in, the fans went back to not caring. They even tried to get a CM Punk chant going, but that didn't last for too long. But then we got the eliminations. Again, Toni Storm ended up eliminating Zelina Vega. And then not long after that, Liv Morgan eliminated Toni Storm. So we get a point where Shotzi, she tagged herself in, but at the same time, Sasha tagged in Shotzi. So Shotzi goes up, hits some kind of splash. It didn't look all that good. She hit a splash on Liv Morgan, and then Sasha Banks followed that up with a frog splash on Liv Morgan to get the elimination on her. So took two finishing moves, basically, to eliminate Liv Morgan. That's good. Keeps her looking strong before her upcoming championship match against Becky Lynch at some point in the future. Makes me wonder, since Team Raw won, I don't know why Liv couldn't have been one of the sole survivors, but oh well. Rhea Ripley ended up getting eliminated. She got taken out by a double team from Shotzi Blackheart and Shayna Baszler. This left Bianca Belair all by herself, and that didn't last that much longer either. We see Sasha tag in Natty, and then Shotzi tagged in Natty too, but she did not know that Sasha already tagged her in. So the two of them are arguing. They go to the outside. They're going back and forth. Shayna gets in there. She's arguing with them, but then Sasha pushes her. So now Shayna's pissed at Sasha. Natty comes in. Sasha inexplicably slaps Natty across the face. So now she has three women against her. Sasha tries to get back in the ring. All three of them pull Sasha out. Sasha gets counted out, which is like the fourth countout finish of the night, or at least fourth countout elimination of the night. And all this showed you is that all the women of SmackDown hate Sasha Banks, apparently. So Sasha goes away, and now it's 3-on-1 against Bianca Belair. Of course, this is going to be very long, a very brutal punishment of Bianca, and really get her amped up to make a big comeback and fight through the odds. And a really cool moment. No, I'm just kidding. Almost very quickly, Bianca disposed of a bunch of the women here. She rolled up Natty, gave her a schoolboy and rolled her up and eliminated her. Then she hit a modified glam slam on Shayna Baszler and eliminated her as well, almost within the span of a minute or two of each other. So Bianca single-handedly beat 4-1 odds here. So it came down to her and Shotzi. Nice little back and forth here. Shotzi ended up going for the sliced bread, but it got countered by Bianca. Bianca gets her up, hits the KOD, and gets the win. Bianca Belair is the sole survivor of her team, and Team Raw once again gets a win on this show. The match was okay. It was just very sloppy, very messy. The crowd didn't care that much about it at points, and quite frankly, I didn't really care that much about it either. But to be fair, it had nothing to do with the fact that it was the women. It had everything to do with the fact that the action in this match was not nearly as good as the action in the previous match. That just so happened to be the men. If you swap matches and everything the women did here was the men and everything the men did was the women, then I would say the women's match was great and the men's match sucked. But that's just how it happened here. This was not that good. Luckily, this was not the only thing the women did all night. The opener with Charlotte and Becky was excellent. This match just was not good. But what was good, what was very, very good, was the main event. The WWE Champion Big E taking on the Universal Champion Roman Reigns. In a different world, this could have been the main event of WrestleMania. Had you built up Big E a little bit more, he could have been at a very hot peak level as a babyface and be that guy to challenge Roman Reigns and take the Universal Championship from him. Big match, big main event spot, big victory, big spotlight for Big E. Get the stamp of approval and you go all the way with him. But that's not the world we live in. The world we live in is a world where we want to do shocking things to get attention on the show and boost ratings against Monday Night Football. So move Big E to Monday Night Raw to cash in and win the WWE Championship. I'm happy he's the WWE Champion. I'm quite impressed with his run so far, but it's not enough to make that show any better. And now we have a situation here where you have two champions go up against each other, where one has to win and one has to lose, and you know between the two of them, who's the most protected, who's the more protected of the two. That being Roman Reigns. But that did not stop these two from having a very good match. It started off a little slow, just doing a bunch of power moves and kind of feeling each other out. But what really turned it around for me was we see Roman go for the Superman punch. Big E ducked it, but then Roman came back around and hit Big E with the rock bottom. Got a 2 count and popped the crowd pretty good. They started a Rocky chant. So they were just teasing you. Just a tease. Leave it to old Blue Balls WWE with here. So Roman ends up hitting a bunch of Superman punches on Big E. He hits him with one. Big E he's still up. He's still on his feet. Roman hits another one. Big E goes down. But eventually he comes back up. Roman then hits a third Superman punch. And instead of immediately going on the attack again, he starts taunting the crowd. He's getting himself amped up. He goes to set himself up for the spear. Does that ooh-wah thing. And then when he looks up, Big E is back up. He's fired up. He's getting in Roman's face. So the two of them go at it. He throws Roman over the top rope. Roman's still on the apron. And Big E does his big spear through the ropes. Comes crashing down on the outside. And I swear to God, it looked like Big E was about to land directly on his shoulder and head. I wince every time he does that move because it looks like he's going to kill himself every single time. Or at the very least, he's going to break his shoulder. But somehow, miraculously, that did not happen. He's been doing this for years. It still has not happened. Never ceases to frighten the shit out of me every time he does it, though. But it didn't happen here. So, they're out there. They go back in, and Roman ends up spearing Big E. But only gets a 2 count. So, the fans are into that. We see Roman try to lock in the guillotine, but then Big E drives him into the corner. E tries to go for the spear through the ropes again, but this time Roman catches him and locks him in the guillotine while they're in the ropes. Ref counts up to 5. Roman breaks it. We see them get back in. Roman applies the guillotine once more, but then Big E manages to power out of it, hits the big ending, only good for a 2 count. Both men find themselves on the outside. Roman shoves Big E into the steel steps, lands on the other side. Roman goes up top, and off the steel steps, he hits Big E with the Superman punch. Both men get back in. Big E gets up. He goes for the big ending. Roman slips out of it, stomps on Big E's leg. He was selling a leg injury, a spot earlier in the match. Kind of tweaked Big E's leg. He didn't do a great job selling it throughout the rest of the match, but here was his downfall. Roman stomps on the leg, winds back, goes for the spear again, and 1, 2, 3, Roman Reigns wins. LOL. And that was it. Roman left, held his hand up, pointed up, we the ones, whatever. Big E was stumbling, but getting himself up in the ring, but that was it. Little copyright logo in the corner, and that was the end of the show. No Rock, despite this being the 25th anniversary of him. They had a whole match dedicated to him. They were showing all kinds of clips. They were doing a whole show-long angle talking about one of the props from his movies. No Rock appearance. Now, many months ago, they were promoting that The Rock would appear on the show, would be in the Barclays Center, but then a little bit later, they quietly pulled that advertisement, so it's not like they were false advertising, unless they were, and we don't know about that. But as far as I know, they pulled the advertising, and they stopped advertising that The Rock was going to be on the show because clearly he was not going to be on the show. But then prior to the main event, they had this backstage segment with Kayla Braxton, who mentioned to Paul Heyman that there were rumors that the indefinite suspension that was given to Brock Lesnar after he attacked Adam Pearce a few weeks ago. I wish Paul Pearce was on this show. It'd be more entertaining. But not even Paul Pearce could save this show, actually. But Adam Pearce, after he got attacked by Brock Lesnar, he suspended Brock indefinitely. And the rumor, according to Kayla Braxton, was that the suspension was lifted, or at least it was no longer indefinite. So you have that tease, you have the Rock stuff, but then at the end, it's just Roman winning. There was nothing to set up Big E for anything going forward. But I guess the story is Raw is still better than SmackDown. Or even deeper than that, Raw swept the board up until the main event. And now you have two versions of the story where SmackDown could not get the job done all night, and it took Roman Reigns to get a big victory for SmackDown. Meanwhile, on the other side, Team Raw was winning all night, and then the champion, the WWE champion himself, could not get the job done in the end. Those are two stories that they can tell. Will they be interesting? Will they be entertaining? Will they be intriguing? Probably not, if I'm being honest. Probably not. But such is life when it comes to Survivor Series. Another year passes and another year where this show ceases to contain any importance, any significance, any meaning whatsoever. This was a very meaningless show. Despite some of the really good matches on it, it was very skippable. If you didn't watch this show, you did not miss anything. There's going to be no major ramifications from this show. If there are, fantastic. I can admit that I was wrong, but that's not the MO. That whole wait till it plays itself out, let it play itself out, that whole mentality out the window. Too many guys where they debut and give pushes to and then cut have stopped me from believing in that. Too many examples of letting it play out and then there's no payoff whatsoever to angles or storylines or anything like that have come up, let alone over the years. We've seen it several times in the past few months. So I don't expect anything major to come from this show. If you liked it, great. I'm glad you enjoyed it. For me, it was okay. There's worse ways that I could have spent my time tonight, but it was just an okay show. That's the best I can say about it. But it was very meaningless, very empty, especially that finish, very flat, even despite the good main event. Just a very flat finish. And it is just getting very hard to be genuinely invested in anything that happens on WWE television in the year 2021, entering 2022. And this was the last official pay-per-view for WWE of the year. Their next time on pay-per-view or on Peacock, whatever, will be January 1st, their day one show. This is a little experiment they're doing, having a pay-per-view on January 1st on New Year's Day. I don't anticipate that show being that much better than this one, but I can only hope. It'll be the first show of the year, so let's get the year started off strong, I suppose. But that's it for me. I'm talked out talking about this show. It takes a lot of energy out of you. And watching a show and trying very hard to care when you know that they don't. That's the hard part. But such is life. This is the life of a pro wrestling fan. They say if you don't like it, don't watch it. Well, I don't know. I still do for some reason. But all of you do too, or else you wouldn't be listening to me. So thank you for those who listen to me. Thank you for those who subscribe to this channel. Thank you for those who like this video. Give it a thumbs up and follow me on Twitter. Once again, all of my platforms at DerekJ Speaks. I will talk to you guys next time. Happy Thanksgiving to those celebrating that. Thanksgiving is coming up this week. So happy Thanksgiving, happy holidays, and best luck, best wishes, best health to all of you. Thank you. See you later.